We move the chains. You hear what I'm saying? Real players can relate, cause they the ones that was playing. Be great, just wait. We be really in the field. Now we really on the mic, speaking truly how we feel. For real, screaming hut one, hut two.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, wherever this may find you. Welcome to another edition of the Move the Chains podcast. Big thanks to the BC Lions and Ryan Phillips, the defensive coordinator and originator, the brainchild of this podcast, for letting me fill in for him. Today, we're going to tackle another burning social issue that you will see burning up social media, burning up the headlines. We're going to talk about anti-Semitism, but stick with me, please. It's a heavy topic, but this isn't supposed to be a podcast that will make you feel guilty or tune out or inured. I know a lot of people are kind of numb to this kind of thing, but I promise stick with us and we'll dive into it. Got two great guests for you. Let's start off with guest number one, Noah Cantor, longtime BC Lion, also played for some other CFL team. We won't mention that team, but also part of that deep Zionist conspiracy to fill us full of delicious food. As co-founder of Vera's Burgers, welcome to the pod, Noah.
Thanks, JJ. Thanks for having me here.
No worries. And on the other side, we have Kyle Berger, the sports coordinator at the Jewish Community Center and coordinator of the Maccabee Games, which is it's kind of like a Jewish Olympics every 4 years in Israel. His other claim to fame is being 1/3 of the best sports department the Kwantlen University newspaper ever had. He was Mr. Fox in a former life. He's a part-time stand-up comic, and he's also taking time away from his other day job of working on those Jewish space lasers to be with us here today. Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks, JJ. I just want to clarify that it's not the typical space lasers that most people might think of, like shooting down things. It's for the Jewish astronauts to laser the hair off of their backs, their hairy backs. So that's the kind of laser work I work on. But it's good to be here. Thanks for bringing back the old Kwantlen days with Charles Giordano at the helm. That was legendary.
Chucky, yes, that's where we both got our start. And speaking of starting, let's start here. Merry Christmas. What is Santa gonna bring you guys this year?
Well, first he's gonna bring us Hanukkah, because Hanukkah comes before Christmas.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you. I'm married to a wonderful non-Jewish woman. And we've got a beautiful Christmas tree up in our house here as well. And I'm sitting right here next to Santa Claus, my buddy here, keeping me cozy.
Nice.
So I say Merry Christmas back to you, JJ.
Thank you. Noah, I'm assuming you've got a menorah up somewhere in the house?
Not yet, but it's coming soon. It's coming soon. It's coming fast.
It's always like an awkward time of year for Jewish people. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm at the intersection of being in sports, being Black, and also my family's Jewish. I am a Black Russian Jew, if you want to be specific. And this time of year was always kind of strange for me because my father was Christian, my mother was Jewish, and I had basically an entire month of gifts and matzo balls and latkes. It was great. I enjoyed it. But
was it a competition?
I made it a competition. I absolutely made it a competition. I made sure to tell my father that there were more than one day of Hanukkah, and I could say Hanukkah like with the proper Hanukkah, not Chanukah as people seem to read it. But I wanted to ask you guys, what's your experience of being a Jewish in Canada? Have you guys ever experienced any kind of anti-Semitism in your life? Noah, do you want to start it off?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen too much anti-Semitism, to be honest. If anything, they've been like educational opportunities. and with being Jewish, I've had to miss a few football games because of Yom Kippur. And there were always times, I went to a Catholic high school, I went to a Catholic university, and in the CFL, I missed a couple of games also. And it was really just an opportunity to talk to teammates that never met a Jewish person before and explain to them what it was and explain why I was missing the game. And maybe there was comments behind my back, but I never heard any. So, but like I said, especially in the CFL, you meet guys from everywhere, Americans, Canadians, internationally now, and you're meeting guys from all over North America. And like I said, a lot of them hadn't met a Jewish person before. And so it was neat to sort of educate and talk about it that way. But yeah, no real anti-Semitic stuff, especially in Canada. I don't think it happens. Not to me, anyways.
Yeah, we're kind of lucky with that here.
We really are. Yeah.
Compared to a few miles south from where we are, it's a completely different world.
Although I do have one story. It wasn't even anti-Semitic, but it was I was missing this Yom Kippur day, and it was here when I was in BC, and I think it was reported that I was being suspended, and all of a sudden I wake up in the morning with a bunch of phone calls from higher ups in the Jewish communities, wanting to fight for me and stand up that I was being suspended, and I had to sort of calm everybody, no, I'm not being. It's just how they announce it. It's not. It wasn't. They were discriminating against me, but it was interesting to see how fast the community stood up for me, and it, made me feel really comfortable here and being a part of that community.
We're a feisty bunch.
We are.
Kyle, how about you? You had any matzo balls thrown at you while you been doing a set on stage, or?
Oh my God, that would be incredible if somebody threw matzo balls at me actually while I was on stage. But I would say, like Noah, I mean, we're, as you mentioned, JJ, we're really lucky growing up in Canada, where we really we're kind of protected from a lot of what's going on around the world. We're aware of it, but we don't have to really deal with it head on here. So I haven't had a lot of experience in my life. I mean, now I worked for the Jewish newspaper for many years. I'm working at the Jewish Community Center. I don't consider myself to be a super religious Jewish person, but clearly I'm very Jewy. And I've been surrounded by it my whole life, and it's been incredible for me. So, and I haven't really dealt with it, I run the sports leagues at the Jewish Community Center, and it's always funny to me. Of course, anybody's welcome at the Jewish Community Center, and anybody's welcome to participate in our programs. The running joke I always say is that you don't have to be a member of the tribe to be a member of the JCC. Anybody can be a member at the JCC, and so we have the JCC Hockey League, and the guys at the rink and the officials refer to it as the Jewish League. And I often find myself saying to them, you shouldn't refer to it as the Jewish League. And they say, oh, we're sorry. We hope that this doesn't offend the Jewish people in the league. And I was like, no, it's the non-Jewish people in the league that might be bothered by it being called the Jewish League. But I will say, while I haven't personally seen a lot lately, I've kind of been looking around a little bit more and wondering and thinking about it. And I found myself at a comedy show where it was, what's his name? Can't think of his name right now, but there was a comedian at the House of Comedy. And he mentioned that he was Jewish, and he was like, any Jews here? And myself and maybe one other person went, woo! And then I looked around the room and was wondering, is anybody looking at me right now going, hey, that guy's Jewish? And thinking something and I'd never really experienced that before, but with what's been going on, it was Michael Rappaport. That's who I was thinking. And just having that one moment where I suddenly felt like, am I being looked at right now? I just identified myself publicly as a Jew. And it was weird because I feel like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have even crossed my mind. And not that I ever would have hesitated to say I'm Jewish, but I actually thought, is anybody in this room looking at me right now and thinking anything? And that's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think the media, I guess the Jewish controlled media apparently, has been saying that there's a rising wave of anti-Semitism that is happening, that it is becoming mainstream. They point to the Dave Chappelle's monologue on Saturday Night Live a couple weeks ago as an example of anti-Semitic tropes that are just being thrust out into the mainstream. And um, but I would argue that there isn't a rising wave. It's just kind of been there the entire time. It's just that certain people are amplifying those ideas. Um, so I mean, we can't do this episode without talking about Kanye and what's happened over the last few days. Have you guys heard any of his Alex Jones interview and some of the things that he said?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your
Yeah.
reaction? Like when you hear him say, you know what, I like Hitler. Hitler did a lot of good things. He invented the microphone that I use, which actually isn't true. He invented highways, which also actually isn't true. But what was your reaction when you heard him spout this stuff
Through a sock.
through a sock? A
When we
black
heard
sock.
him through a sock that he was wearing on his head. I mean, that was the most appropriate part of the interview, I thought, was that he was a sock puppet, spewing garbage about stuff he doesn't know. I mean, honestly, this whole thing with Kanye, I don't even know what to make of it. What scares me is I feel like we've realized since around 2016, for whatever reason, we've realized what a high percentage of Western society, I don't want to say the world, of Western society, is actually pretty uneducated, and racist and anti-Semitic and prejudice and bigots and whatever they are. But I really feel like they've just come out, and we're seeing now, like you said, they've always been there, but we're suddenly seeing now more in the mainstream what a high percentage of the population is anti-Semitic or racist. And so when I see, in the mainstream, those comments being made, whether it's Kanye, whether it's Chappelle, I start to think about how many millions of people are watching that, going, yeah. That's what bothers me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And it's kind of the scary part, right? Like, he's got how many followers on all his social media things, and those are people that want to hear what he has to say, and what he's saying is kind of repulsive. Like, he's telling stuff and saying stuff that just shouldn't be. It makes you wonder, like, is free speech, should it be allowed? Like obviously it should be, but like, does it need to be a test to be able to say something whatever you want, or to be on social media? Like, I don't know. It's kind of, I usually don't get upset about seeing that kind of stuff, and I understand everybody has a right to say what they want, but the last night was a little much. It was you really wonder what's going through his mind, and how he can even feel these ways or think these ways. But you're right, and I don't even know if it's more going on right now. I think there's so many more streams, and we just hear it so often, and social media has just made it like it's constantly buzzing our phones anytime anybody says anything. Like, I mean, just the fact that we've all heard that news and it happened yesterday is, it's just, usually you have to wait to the end of the day you used to have to wait to the end of the day to get a paper, right? Now you hear it like a minute after it happens.
Yeah.
It's kind of a scary world we live in.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and I know you guys have probably heard of the Anti-Defamation League. They track hate crimes in the U.S. And I think year over year they're up 34%. Last year, 2021, compared to 2022, was up 34% in terms of hate crimes against Jewish Americans, and that was like the highest number ever since, I think, 1979. It's and in the past they've tracked spikes in hate crimes that have been centered around certain dates, but they've also found that in the last 5 years, it's just been on a steady rise. So, it's not just anecdotally, it is actually happening. There is a rising tide of anti-Semitism that is kind of threatening to drown us all. Um, Now with Kanye, I mean, you look at him, and the man is obviously there has to be something mental going on with him. I mean, just with the way he shows up, the fact he was uh, waving a net and a bottle of YooHoo around Netanyahu, like his joke about Netanyahu, it was just like it was obviously deranged. Like this man has some serious problems. But I heard a really great quote. Um, the quote was "Hurt people, hurt people." And you know who said that quote? It was Kanye West. Kanye West said it, like last year. This is crazy. So you
Yeah.
know,
He was warning us.
he was warning us. He did make some sense. I mean, the man did lose, his wife, $1 billion. He just took down NBA star Chris Paul last night by saying he found him with Kim Kardashian. So that's that's
I don't know if he took him down or if he like I just didn't even understand why he's announcing that.
well, I'm sure Chris Paul's wife really appreciated that information,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we'll see some more news about that. But knowing all of this, can you still be a Kanye West fan? Can you buy his shoes? Can you listen to his music? I know, Noah, you must have like 2 or 3 sets of Yeezys, right? Like, what are you gonna do with those?
No Yeezys in the house, but I do have a pair of Kyrie Irving's shoes
Oh,
from before. No, I from before. I don't. Yeah, no, I don't think you can be a fan. I mean, I just can't support. I can't support that.
yeah.
Kyle?
I'm not so sure I was ever really a fan, so it's kind of an easy switch over for me. But yeah, I mean, I would stay far away from anything he touched at this point. And it's not even just because he said something bad about my people. It's, as you said, he's kind of going on deranged lunatic, and I just kind of stay away from all of that. But as Noah touched on before, it's the number of people that he has following him that is the most concerning. I mean, I think about, as when I'm doing comedy, I make a lot of Jewish jokes. I go up on the stage and I talk about being Jewish, and whether I'm in front of a predominantly Jewish audience or not. And it's always been okay to make Jewish jokes and to riff on all of the stereotypes and, have fun with that. But now I stand up there and I wonder, what am I saying, and who's a fan of Kanye that's taking what I'm saying and saying, well, that's not a joke, that's true, or whatever it might be. And I don't know, it doesn't just change whether we can be a fan of Kanye. It kind of changes how we need to consider how we approach a lot of stuff right now.
Yeah, it must be really hard, like to make a good point and make a good joke about it at the same time, and make sure both land with your audience.
Yeah, and that people understand the joke of it,
Hmm.
and that it's not a real. I've told a joke a couple of times right on the stage in the theater of the Jewish Community Center, where I say, "Welcome to the Jewish Community Center, the one place where you might hear, 'I only ate half my sandwich. Can I have a refund for the other half, please?' Spoken in both Chinese and Hebrew." And I love the joke, but I'm not so sure. And I just said it here, but I'm not so sure I would stand up on that stage and say that again right now, because where we used to be obviously a joke, now I don't know how people are going to take something like that, and what it's gonna mean to them. And I feel like I need to be careful about what I'm saying and how that's being taken, regardless of whether I'm clearly standing on the stage as a comedian.
Yeah. Now, Noah, you said you had some Kyries from before,
From before.
Well, I don't know if there are going to be any new Kyries after Nike has dropped him. But the situation with Kyrie, so he posted a link to that movie. I believe it was Hebrews to Negroes, the truth about Black Jews or something along that line, and then refused to take it down and refused to condemn the very blatantly anti-Semitic content. And he got suspended, indefinitely until he met a list of sort of stipulations he needed to do to get back into playing. So, what did you guys think about that punishment? Do you think that was warranted? Do you think there should have been more? Do you think that the Jewish NBA commissioner Adam Silver should have come down harder on him? What do you guys think of that the punishment and that situation?
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, I'll let the athlete take this one first.
Yeah. I don't think he should have been suspended. I don't think that helps. I don't think it's, demanding an apology, which he eventually did. And I think the suspension, or it was definitely too long, in my opinion. If it was a game, maybe, but I think it's too much. I think there's a lot of guys that have done a lot worse and haven't been suspended. So I don't know where you draw the line there. That's a commissioner issue, I guess. But in my opinion, I think education is more important than suspension or punishment. I don't think it helps, but punishing him. I think it, educating him, making him talk to David Silver, making him talk to some owners. I don't know, but not the punishment.
Yeah, I'll echo that. To me, it's weird to suspend an athlete for a set period of time because they're an anti-Semite, or they're racist or whatever it might be. Like, if you want to punish them, let them spend an hour with my mother or something like that. That would be an adequate punishment. But she'll rant and he'll be educated when that's done, let me tell you. But it's weird. You can't play basketball for the next 6 games because you did something anti-Semitic. Is a weird, either they're saying, we have no tolerance for you and your behavior. You're not part of our club anymore. You're not part of our group anymore. You're not playing in the NBA anymore. I'm not saying that that's what should have happened, but either you're drawing a line or you're not. The concept of suspending somebody, and I like the idea that they put him in a position to be educated. I found it amusing, the whole thing with that he needed to make a donation. I think the team said that they were going to make a donation to the ADF, to the Anti-Defamation League, and he needed to make a donation, and the ADF refused the money for his money, which kind of makes sense. I mean, I'm sure they could use the money. I mean, it's a Jewish organization and all, but I mean, that to me was strange too. But it's so bizarre. It's kind of like Twitter giving 12-hour suspensions. Right. Because you tweet something racist or harmful or sexist, and you can't tweet and you can't like things for a couple of days. Either you're drawing lines or you're not. That's the way I see it.
What do you guys think of that? The Twitter situation currently, which is under new ownership with Elon Musk, and a lot of is made about his free speech being thinly veiled white supremacism, which is kind of what people would assume when you come from somewhere like South Africa. That's where your heritage lies. But he's a big proponent of free speech. And then Kanye is suspended for going on Alex Jones and saying basically his uninformed opinion. What do you think of social media now and the role that it's playing in all of this?
The free speech concept is right off the top is an interesting one, because I believe in Canada, and I'm not sure it's this way in the United States. You have free speech, but there limits to that freedom. You don't have complete free speech. You can't spread hate speech. You can't say whatever you want. You can't target somebody. You can't, it's not really free speech. But I don't think it's quite the same in the United States. I think that you can, I don't know that it's against the law to speak, to say something racist in the United States the same way that it is in Canada. You guys know if I'm right about what I'm talking about? I feel like sometime in the last year or so, I was looking it up, and I found that in Canada, it's illegal to, you don't have the right to speak racist tongue, but I don't think the law is the same in the United States.
I believe you are correct, yes.
So a lot of what we're seeing on social media and, whatever laws Twitter has and whatnot is it's kind of us Canadians living in America a little bit when it comes to what we're seeing on social media.
Yeah. No, are you on Twitter? Do you have a Twitter account?
I do not. I do not have a Twitter account, but I'm on it. Like I read it. I just don't. I don't have my own account.
Someone has a burner. Someone has a burner.
Not a burner. Not a burner.
You read it, but you don't have an account.
Beerus has an account, so I'm on the Beerus account. But personally, I'm not on the account. So I do read. I just don't. I don't post or tweet or whatever that is. But like social media is. How do you stop people? Like, there's so many different sites. There's so many different. How do you stop people from speaking? Like, should Twitter be allowed as a company to cut somebody off? I think so. Like, if that's what they decide to do and should do, probably yes. But I mean, he's going to get his voice out there somehow. He's got followers somewhere in some social media circle. Somebody wants to hear what he has to say. Yeah. Again, more importantly, I think is hopefully, especially with having young kids, that they educate themselves and know where it's coming from and know who's saying it and they actually look into things and not just read a tweet and think that that's the law or see a TikTok and think, oh, that must be true. Like, you got to do some background search and know where your information's coming from. And hopefully that's how we move forward is by education.
That's the one that really irritates me about Kanye is he willfully admits that he doesn't read books. He doesn't read anything, so where is he getting his ideas from? Is he getting them from Nick Fuentes at the dinner table with Trump? I mean,
oh God, that's another one.
Yeah, that's another one, right? It's just like do your own research is not going on Facebook or going on Twitter or YouTube. That is not a valid place to do research. And it's the same thing with Chris Paul. Like if you read some books, you probably would not be part of the Flat Earth Society because you would understand the physics around why the world is a globe, right? It's round, it's gravity. You can tell if you go up high enough, you can see the curvature of the earth, stuff like that. But they are willfully undereducated. Now I think both of you have kids. Am I right there?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about the education system here? Because I know down in the States where I have a lot of relatives, you're seeing a lot of removing of the infrastructure and the funding to get proper education. How are you feeling about the future and what kids are learning and being educated about? Because like you said, it comes down to education. If there was a lot more education, a lot of these situations would not arise.
I mean, I feel pretty good about our education system and seeing what our kids have gone through. And like I said, they know more than we ever knew at these ages just because of all the information that's available to them. And hopefully as parents, as mentors, as coaches, we can sort of like help shape some of that information. But I think the information they get is everywhere, and hopefully they're learning from it. But I like the education system in Canada. I think it's pretty good.
So you're not worried that in 40 years there's going to be a picture surface like Jerry Jones back in his youth out in front of a segregated school throwing rocks at black kids. You're not worried about that happening with your kids.
I mean, I worry about the cameras everywhere because there's cameras everywhere. Like, you got to be really careful as a kid what you're doing out there. I mean, you can walk on the street and they can go to all the houses and find the pictures of you where you were walking. Like, it's crazy out there. So I do worry about that kind of stuff. But you know, like I said, I can only speak for my kids, and you try and help them, and you know, because they learn and see all this stuff, you try and talk to them about it all the time, and that's hopefully everybody's doing that, and we can raise some good kids.
Yeah, I think the education system here is fantastic, and that's partly because my wife is a first grade teacher, and I stand by that. But what's that?
Is she in the room?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no, it's literally just me and Santa Claus right here.
Okay.
But I think that, like, I think it was last year, my nieces who live out in Abbotsford were telling me that they were learning about the Holocaust in school, in their public school. And they were asking me all sorts of questions about it, and it was fascinating. And I was like blown away. Like, I don't remember learning about the Holocaust in public school as a student. I went to afternoon Hebrew school and studied for my bar mitzvah and learned about the Holocaust from all those hours I spent with my mother when I was punished. But I think that there's, and I think that's really important. Like, I was really, like, it really kind of, it's funny saying this about the Holocaust, but it warmed my heart that they were learning about the evils of the Holocaust, because we're getting to a point now where, you know, the Holocaust survivors are dying off. And the people who are actually able to speak to those horrific experiences are soon no longer going to be with us. And that's when it gets easier for people like Nick Fuentes, who is a Holocaust denier, stand up there and say, it's fake, these photos are fake, this was all fake. And for it to be far enough away in our history that people can question whether that's just a conspiracy, and there's not going to be anybody around who's going to actually be able to say, yes, this happened, I was there. And I think about, I think what I'm kind of glad that we're seeing is, at least here, when we're talking about truth and reconciliation and the education and the value of and the increased education, and even just having the conversations that we're having now about our history and how we treat people and respecting different cultures. For me, I feel like this is less specifically about anti-Semitism, and I know that's what we're talking about, and it is its own unique situation, just like, you know, Black Lives is its own unique situation, and truth and reconciliation is its own unique situation, but they're also all interconnected, right? Are we teaching our children to be tolerant? Are we teaching our children to be open-minded? Are we teaching them to respect history and to love other people? And I am seeing that, I think, more than when we were kids, even. So that's the part of the education system that I feel like is makes me feel a little bit better. But it's strange to see at the same time increase in racism and increase in anti-Semitism, and so much of this going on at the same time. And a big part of that, obviously, is the presence of social media. But I think that as long as we keep having these conversations about all of these interrelated topics, that's kind of the most important thing that we can do.
Yeah. You talk about education. I remember learning about the Holocaust in high school. Your mother was not my teacher. Had a great social studies teacher. But that's one thing that's always kind of like baffled me is the Holocaust deniers. I mean, there are people who were alive who were there. There were people who, American GIs who came into these camps and documented everything. The camps are still there. You can still see exactly what they did. There are records from, Nazi Germany detailing what they did. the evidence is there, and yet people lack it's either they lack the trust or they are willfully spreading this disinformation because of an active dislike for Jewish people. And that's always kind of fascinating me. Like, how do you get to that point? How do you become this person that will just completely gloss over all these millions of people losing their lives as a conspiracy? Is fascinating to me. Probably fascinating is not the right word. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say fascinating, but it is
Flabbergasting.
flabbergasting. Yes, that's a
Well,
good word. You're right.
I think Kanye used the term in one of his tweets, the Jewish agenda.
Mm.
That one always kind of makes me chuckle, if you can say that. But like the Jewish agenda, as if whenever I hear that, I'm like imagining somebody thinks that all of the Jews kind of secretly get together on WhatsApp or something and discuss our agenda for the month and how we're going to accomplish this, that, or the other. But I've heard deniers say that the video footage you just see is just Hollywood, putting together this fake video footage and staging everything, and people will go and can go to great lengths to chase whatever conspiracy theory works for them.
Mm-hmm. Just like the moon landing, right? That's another one that has spawned so many countless.
Yeah, I can't believe
conspiracies.
people think the moon landing actually happened, right? Like that's just ridiculous.
I know, like it's another. It's so far away. Like, how are they going to get there?
Yeah,
And if they do, how are they going to stay on the
How to get
surface?
back?
How do
we
they
can't
get
even
back?
get to the bottom of the ocean, and I'm supposed to believe we got to the moon.
Did you see the footprint? The footprint couldn't happen in those circumstances and in that environment on the moon. And
I feel like I
I
need to
guess
say I know the moon landing happened. I just want to say that publicly. Happened. I was there. My mother told me about it.
it's too late. The Vera's Burgers Twitter feed has already retweeted that comment out there.
Please, I just
Kyle's
started
the-
following Vera's Burgers on Twitter, and the last thing they tweeted was in 2021. So I'm not worried about that.
I'm waiting for the Vera's versus Wendy's Twitter throwdown. So make that happen, Noah. Make it
All right.
happen.
You got to be prepared for that. Wendy's is a tough customer when it comes to Twitter.
Oh, he knows. He reads. He reads. He
Mhm.
reads things on Twitter. All right. As we come to the end here, do you guys have any closing thoughts? Anything you'd wish to offer up? Because I feel like this is like you said, it's a discussion. I think these are important discussions that need to be had. Just to give people something to think about. We talked about muzzling people and making people feel guilty. That's not a road forward. Just what are your thoughts on where we can go from here so that spike that the ADL is tracking starts turning down the other way, and we don't have as many hate crimes and this rise of anti-Semitism?
First of all, what you guys are doing is a great start. I mean, just being able to talk about these topics, which I know aren't easy to talk about, is a great start. And hopefully, if we all just sort of work towards that and keep educating ourselves and keep working about trying to be better people, and that's just how we have to start. It's a long process. There are people that aren't happy and hurt people and all that stuff, and all we can do is just keep working and keep trying to educate people and hope that we're all in it for the right reasons, and try and make this place better, try and make our kids better, and just try and work towards being great.
Yeah, I just echo what Noah said. I mean, I think the most important thing is to keep having these conversations. So I really appreciate that you're doing this and you're having all of these conversations because they're all really important. And the more we talk about all of these related issues, the better for everybody. And I think that's the key, is just keep the conversations happening.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. I hope it satisfies that group of guys in black suits and yarmulkes who came to visit me and told me I had to do this episode, otherwise I get fried like a latke.
Sending you WhatsApp messages right now.
Exactly. I think I'm in the clear. But yeah, thanks again, guys, for joining us, and we'll look forward to some more episodes of Move the Chains.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I this whole time on this thing, I've been underneath this nice, hoodie thing I've been wearing. I got my Lions pride going. I'm ready for next season. I'm kind of hoping Nathan Rourke doesn't get picked up in the NFL so he can come back next year. Let's do this. Go Lions.
Trying out with my Raiders today. I like how that hides all the hairs poking out.
Yeah.
Wasn't he talking about laser hair removal?
The laser is not working right now, Noah. It's broken.
It worked pretty good up here.
Yeah, I just it worked well up there.
Yeah. It's all crazy right now. I've messaged the guys on WhatsApp to come and help me fix it, but
group chat.
Move the chains. Let's go. Move the chains. The #1 podcast. Move the chains. Do my thing. Getting this dough, you know how it go. Grab a seat and tune in, then tell me what you know. Back when TIP said, get it on the flow. RP was on BC, putting on a show. For show, screaming touchdown, touchdown. Everything you want now. Fans be the chain gang, game every month now. Don't even try to front now. These new dudes be something like my son now. I'm better than ever. The game that we speak gotta be clever. Ball hard no matter the weather. I cheese for the picks while I'm counting this cheddar. On my mama, boy, I never will let her. But so you know I gotta get up and run. Just come and get game from the chains. Everybody love it when you move the chains. Haters hate to see me really do my thing. Move the chains, move the chains. Let's go. Move the chains. The #1 podcast. Move the chains. Do my thing. Come and get game from the chains. Everybody love it when you move the chains. Haters hate to see me really do my thing. Move the chains, move the chains. Let's go. Move the chains. The #1 podcast. Move the chains. Do my thing.